Hello, today we have the Tea with Rory series. I'm Avri Citron and this is Rory Cowan.
And hello everybody, I'm just for the tea with Rory. Look at the mug that I'm using. This is a mug that was given to me by Heather Wilson back in 2014, 2015 when I was doing a Panto in the Tivoli in Dublin. And it's a present from her and Sue Humphreys. And so I just want to say, Heather and Sue, I'm still using your mug. It's still a working mug. I use it all the time. And I also want to say that Sue Humphreys, just in case any of you don't know, she's a granny for the first time. Happened a few weeks ago. Anyway, congratulations, Sue. I'm delighted for you. Anyway, I'm drinking from your mug. Look, a working mug. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's start off with some questions from your Rory Cowan official fan club on Facebook there, run by Karen Taylor-Stewart. And we have Maeve Murphy from Ireland has a series of questions here about your book. And she asked, what's the title of your book?
The title... I've one title in mind at the moment. There was a few that I was bandying about in my head, but there's one title I have in my mind at the moment, and it's called Don't Pick Up the Racket If You Haven't Got the Balls. Now, I think that's a fabulous, fabulous title. But what it means is, it's very like, don't criticise somebody for doing something that you wouldn't attempt to do yourself. Don't do something... don't do the safe thing because you're afraid to take a chance on something. So that's what I mean. Don't pick up the racket if you haven't got the balls. And that sort of sums up my life, because I remember, I told you before about me doing maths in school, and I was very good at maths, and my mother wanted me to get a job in the bank, and I wouldn't do it. Under no circumstances was I going to work in a bank. So I went in to do my leaving cert and I deliberately failed maths. I got an F in maths, and I don't know how I even got the F, because they probably gave me that for writing my number on top of the page. But I just blew out of the water the chance of me having to go into a bank, because Irish mothers or British mothers or whatever, they're all the same. They will nag you and nag you and nag you to do something, and they do it for the best reasons. They want you to get a good job. I blew that out of the water. I wasn't working in a bank, and I got a job in a record shop, getting £21.50 a week, being paid to do what I would have done for nothing anyway. So I had the best job in the world, and that always sort of summed up my life. I did things. I took jobs because I knew there was something going to happen, and there were always jobs that were, for anyone advising you on career moves, they would have said no. They would have said, don't do it. Don't go into the bank instead of going into a record shop. Get a proper pensionable job instead of going to work for Brendan O'Carroll, who at the time was only starting out, so nobody knew. I had a feeling, and Brendan knew, and a few people like that would know, there's a chance something's going to happen here. But it was a chance that you were taking. You were doing this, and then if it hadn't worked out at that stage, I would have been close to my 40s or whatever like that. So it would have been a case of could have made myself unemployable because I would have been too old. But anyway, that's the way I came up with the title of the book.
Good.
So there you go.
And did you start writing the book before the title came to you, Maeve Murphy asks, or was the title an obvious choice?
No, I started writing the book first after a publisher came to me and asked me to write it. So I was writing it, and then I thought I better pick up a title to this, and because I was including things in where I followed my own path against all the advice, and this is something I'd say to anybody who's watching: never, ever, ever, if you're thinking of starting off in a career, or you're thinking of changing careers, listen to nobody. They will, with the best intentions, they will give you advice, but 9 times out of 10, it'll be the wrong advice. Do what you want to do. Do what will make you happy. So there was a lot of those things in my career that I did things that I knew this is going to make me happy, but logically they wouldn't be the right things to do. Anyway, I started writing the book before I got the title, and the title could still change by the end of it. Who knows? But I do like the title that I have for it at the moment.
And Maeve also asks, is writing something you enjoy? Does it give you as much pleasure and joy as acting does? Does it energise you?
I love writing, and I always did. I've kept a diary since the mid-80s. And so I've a series of books of diaries, and the reason I did that, I remember Mae West. I'm nearly sure it was Mae West. I read a comment of hers which said, "Keep a diary, and one day it'll keep you." And I understand that. It means So I write everything down. I'm now writing a book. A lot of stuff that's in those diaries will eventually end up in this book or the next book or whatever it's going to be. But there's a lot of, and when I'm flicking through the diaries, when I started writing, I realised, oh, I'd forgotten that. I'd forgotten that. I'd forgotten I was thinking that way at that time. And it's a great way of just refreshing memories. So I have over 30 years of diaries. So that's fantastic. So there you go. What was the other questions?
Yeah, some people have to make a commitment to sit down and write a specific amount daily. What is your daily plan, commitment to your writing?
Well, my daily, the writing I find, now during the day, I'd find it very difficult because Avri would be up here working during the day, or there would be phone calls coming during the day. And there's a lot of things that could very easily distract me. Something on the television, somebody knocking on the door, going for a walk, going shopping. There's a lot of things that could distract me and just take me away from that. So I tend to write, what suits me is at night time, say from midnight on. And I could write for an hour or two, or I could still be writing at 7 o'clock in the morning. But there's absolutely no distractions. There's nobody, like during the day, and during this interview you might start to hear some drilling or some banging or something like that. There's a man 2 doors up, he's getting work done on his house. So there's those types of distractions that just happen in daytime, but they're never there at nighttime. It's like quiet, and if you're concentrating on one thing, you can do. There's nothing that's going to disturb you. So I like to write at night, around midnight, from then on.
And who will proofread and edit it? Will you edit it?
What was fabulous was the way when they asked me to write this book, and it's a book about my life story, but interwoven with stories about my mother, and that's what appealed to me, because I've been campaigning a lot for dementia awareness and carer awareness for carers, and how to improve the care system for carers who are looking after people that need to be cared for. So when they came to me with that idea, interwoven with stories about my mother, it didn't suit me to just write an autobiography, because I have all the memories there. I didn't necessarily feel that anybody might be interested in them, but I liked the idea of coming at it from a different angle, including interweaving stories about my relationship with my mother, because my mother, good and all as she was, she hadn't a clue what we were up to in school, but she defended us to the death. She was fabulous. So then they came back and they said, they asked me would I need a ghostwriter, and I said I'd prefer to write it myself, but to get them to agree to do that I had to send them a sample of a chapter. And luckily enough, they liked what they saw, and they came back and said, that's okay, you don't need a ghostwriter, we don't want you to have one, you can go ahead and do it yourself. But what they did say, and it works perfectly for me, they have somebody called like a reader editor type of a person who will work with me. So I'll send in the chapters and they'll look at them and they'll say, now that could be very good, you need to expand on that, this bit here, now that's no we're not, that's going to bore people, so bring that back. So it's given me a discipline, an idea of like fresh eyes. So then when they say it, I go, you know what, they're right. So I started changing things around, and it really does, it works out better for me. They leave me to do the writing, and then if they want any changes, they tell me what they want, but they let me do them. They don't lead me and say, you've got to do this. They sort of plant the idea, and I go. So it's a lovely way of writing. The only time that they ever the only time they ever told me to do something, they actually asked me to do some rewrites, and that was I'm sorry, that was based on the overuse of the phrase "going like the clappers" in the sex scenes that I wrote in the book. No, I'm only joking. There's no sex scenes in the book. That just came to me there now. Overuse the phrase "going like the clappers." I'm sorry, that's rude. Okay, where are we?
So Gary Miller from Peterborough asks, Rory, do you have any regrets in life?
None. I don't even have to think about that. There's no point in having regrets. It's the worst waste of energy that you could possibly have. Regrets, there's nothing you can do about them. You can't change the past. So, I mean, if you've done something on somebody, or you've upset somebody, or you did something that caused harm to somebody, you can try and make up for it, but regretting it is not going to, it's just going to make you miserable. It's even the word regret, there's nothing in regretting something that's going to make you happy. It's always going to make you feel bad or feel sad. So don't even think about doing that. There's nothing I regret. And it's a weird one. People all the time, like interviewers or people I meet on the street, and they all say, do you regret leaving Mrs. Brown's Boys? And if I was of that type of a mind, I wouldn't have left in the first place. I joined Brendan O'Carroll, his organisation, because I wanted to, and I left because I wanted to. And again, that's me. I will do things that I think is right for me, regardless of what other people might think or what other people might advise. So I left, and granted, I walked out of a very, very, very well-paid job without knowing what was coming in the future or what I was going to do. I just knew that now was time for change, and that was it. But I hadn't anything in place to jump into as soon as I left Mrs. Brown's Boys. So I left a very well-paid job, but I don't feel that I lost anything by leaving Mrs. Brown's Boys. I know I didn't suffer in any way by leaving Mrs. Brown's Boys. And I don't mourn the fact that I don't see the people in Mrs. Brown's Boys anymore. I bump into Eilish now and then, and I see Gary maybe once or twice a year, Gary Hollywood, and that's fine. But I don't mourn the fact that I don't see them on a daily basis like I used to. No more than I'm sure that my leaving is being mourned by them, because they don't see me and I'm not part of that group anymore. Things just happen. Life has a way of things just happening. I'm not the type of person that would have sat there and then later on regretted that I didn't try something else. As soon as I got the idea that I wasn't happy here in this situation, I want to do something, but I hadn't a clue what it was, I just went. I handed in my notice and I was gone as soon as was humanly possible to go. And that's the way it is. So I don't regret. I would have had a regret if I had stayed and I had stayed and I had stayed and I was unhappy, and at the end of my life I would have been, when I was retiring or something, I might have looked back and said I should have left there soon, or I should have done this. So I don't regret anything. I never do.
So Sue Donahue from Macclesfield asks, what are your hobbies and do you have a favourite one?
This is going to bore you. My hobbies are things like I love music. I love listening to. What I mean by that is I love listening to music. I can't play a musical instrument. I can hold on to a tune if I have to sing at a party or something like that, but I don't sing in the shower, or I don't have any ambitions to be a singer. But I love listening to music, and all my memories are related to, or music is involved in every memory I have. If I was to remember something that happened in 1973, a song would be involved in that memory. If I remember something from the 60s, again, it's a song. All my memories are related to music, and everything that happened, like even people dying, I can remember the songs that I was listening to at the time, uncles and aunties that died or whatever like that. Exam results, I remember the songs that I was listening to at the time. So listening to music I love, and I worked at it, and I love playing music, record shops. I loved it. And you'd want to see my vinyl collection now. I'm trying to keep getting stuff again on vinyl that I had dumped when CDs came in. So I'm trying to do that. I'm also a voracious reader. I love reading, and I'd read any old shite. As long as there's books there or magazines there, I will read. I love reading. Every day I do like things that are unusual, insofar as I buy newspapers every day, but I never buy the same newspapers, because I like to see different angles and different what do they call them, agendas that newspapers have, and different ways of reporting stories that are going on day by day by day. And it's amazing how different newspapers report on the same story. It's unbelievable. So I would buy different newspapers every day. I wouldn't buy the same newspaper every day. So there's reading, listening to music, and I love walking. I walk, and even when I'm walking, I'm listening to music in my earphones. But I love walking. I don't do any of the energetic stuff, like I don't run, I don't jog, I don't play sports. I never did play sports, even in school. I just don't do that. Those things have no interest to me. So the easy things like listening to music, reading, walking, those are the type of hobbies that I'd have. Energetic ones, no.
So Stephanie Cooper from Leicester asks, Rory, I know you're a massive Beatles fan like me, so do you have a favourite song that means something to you?
Oh, you see, if it was anybody else, like this, right, T-shirt, T-Rex, Mark Bolan. My favourite song by T-Rex is Get It On, and I've no problem with that. It's always been my favourite T-Rex song. It's my favourite song of all time, actually. But the Beatles I adore, but you couldn't have a favourite Beatles song because there's so many classics, there's so many brilliant songs. From the very first album, Please Please Me, even the title track was fabulous. And what was the John Lennon one that they sang? Twist and Shout, their version of that is brilliant, and that's from 1963. Going right forward to 1970 when they broke up, and then you had things like Come Together, Let It Be, Get Back, brilliant songs, and everything in between. I love Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, I always did, but every album, Beatles album, there would be a favourite song on it, but the next time I would listen to it there might be another song that I prefer. And that's the way it is with the Beatles. There's so many brilliant songs that I don't think anyone could have a favourite. You'd have to have your favourite today, but that might not be your favourite Beatles song the next time you listen to another album of theirs. There could be a different favourite because they have so many brilliant, brilliant, brilliant songs. I know this is going to sound weird. I couldn't imagine my life without the Beatles' music in it. I really couldn't, because their music, their albums have given me so much joy since the 70s. I wasn't really aware of them in the 60s. I was too young, but I got into them in the 70s and the early 70s. And their music has given me so much joy over the years. I couldn't imagine. I mean, I think back, maybe if the people who were buying music in the 50s and the 40s and the 30s, they missed out on all the Beatles stuff. I feel terrible sorry for them. So, to get back, no, there's no favourite Beatles song because there's so many favourites on it that I have.
Good, and Wendy Harrison Consett from County Durham asks, I have a serious phobia of spiders and wondered if you have any phobias and how do you cope with it?
I actually don't have phobias. My phobias are to do with things that are never going to happen. Like, I would have a phobia of jumping out of an airplane. I'm never going to do that, so that's not going to happen. I have phobias of, like, how can I explain this? Since I left Mrs.Browns Boys, people have been asking me, would I do certain reality shows? And they say, would you do Strictly Come Dancing and stuff? And I'd say no. And the reason I'd say no-ish, but I could be, maybe, I don't know. There's an Irish version of that as well called Dancing with the Stars. I've been asked to do that a few times. And the idea of learning how to dance is fabulous. That's not going to be a phobia. Who could be afraid of dancing? But I do, so I like the idea of that. But then I know a girl who was in it, and she had mentioned that in interviews that she had to have injections into her calf, and one time she had to have her ribs taped up and stuff like that because of pain. I wouldn't do that to myself. I genuinely wouldn't put myself in a situation where I would have to do that, where that would be a likely outcome. The Jungle I love watching. I absolutely adore watching The Jungle. I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. I love watching it. But there's things that they have to do in that. They have tasks where they eat things like kangaroos' testicles or some animals' eyeballs, or they have to lie in a coffin type thing where they have snakes or rats or spiders or something crawling all over them, and they have to go and rummage around this coffin that they're in to try and pick out stars or something like that, and if they get 5, then everyone in the camp eats. I would never put myself in a situation like that. If I was to do I'm a Celebrity, The Jungle, it would be I would be fabulous if it was just I had to lie in a hammock and I could talk for 3 weeks and I could chat and just I would find the social thing about that fabulous. But the idea of lying with rats crawling all over me, no, I just wouldn't put myself into that situation. And also when you look at the I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, when you think about it, to go and sort of stay in the jungle, I walked away from Mrs.Browns Boys where we were playing Australia and we were staying in 5-star hotels and we were going first class flights and everything like that. So why would I, if I walked away from that, why would I do something like sitting in a hammock in a jungle, going to the same place? And then also you have to jump out of an airplane. Skydiving, I would have a terrible fear of. I couldn't imagine myself doing it. So to get into the jungle, you have to jump out of a helicopter strapped to somebody on a parachute. I would vomit all over the place if I had to do that. Now that would be a phobia, but it's not going to be a phobia because I'll never do it. I will never jump out of an airplane. I will never do a parachute jump. I'll never lie somewhere where there's going to be snakes and rats crawling all over me. They would be phobias if it was a chance they were going to happen, but because they're not going to happen, they're not really phobias. Hope that answers it.
And you were very kind. You allowed about 20 spiders to be the inside of your frame on the outside of the window there.
Did I?
Wendy wouldn't approve of that.
You see, that is the thing. See, Avri, when he's here, he's going to kill me. He comes up here, he's here sort of 6 or 7 hours every day working away. But there's things like he goes mad. If there's flies in here, no problem. I'd get into trouble with the animals rights people now. Fly killer, I'd spray it. He goes mad. Or if there was a spider on the floor or something, I wouldn't think getting a stamping on it. But he tries to hoosh them out the door. A fly that came in through a crack that size and can't find its way out of a door that's open 6 foot wide. But Avri will try and hoosh them out. Or if there's spiders, he'll try and lift them up and gently put them outside on a plant or something like that. So the two of us are completely different like that. I just would get rid of them quick, but he wants to save their lives.
You did allow them to live over winter on your frame.
That's only because I didn't notice them and you didn't tell me they were there. If I did, now I would have done.
I did, and you were like, oh, they're fine.
As long as they're outside,
you're very kind.
No, spiders I don't actually mind because they eat the flies, and that's okay. You see, the flies in a house I hate. I can't stand it, and it's coming to the time now where there are flies everywhere. But there you go.
So anyway, Mary Lawrence from Liverpool asks, when your book is published, if you're not doing book signings in Liverpool, how can we get a signed copy?
Now, when my book is published, when it's published and released, I am going to be doing book signings everywhere. I'm not going to be one of these people where a book is put out and they just hope for the best. I will be on to the publisher saying, I want to do book signings here, everywhere that the book is available. And so when it's out in the UK, I want to do readings and signings everywhere I can possibly do them. I'd been on, when I was with Brendan O'Carroll, we're going back 15, 20 years, maybe 15 years. I was on a couple of book tours with him in America, when he'd written some books about Mrs. Brown, Agnes Brown, and her family. And we went on book tours. Now you do something like 22, 25 cities in 30 days, so you don't actually get to see anywhere, but it was great fun. I thought it was fantastic. And it does work. You will sell books when you go out, and people will buy them, and you sign them and stuff like that. So when my book is published, I'm going everywhere that book is sold. And I will definitely be going to Liverpool. You can be sure I will go to Liverpool. Liverpool was always my favourite city to gig with Mrs. Brown's Boys, because I was a Beatles fanatic. But I like Liverpool. I like the people from Liverpool. I love the Scousers. And it'll be a great opportunity for me to get there and meet a very good friend of mine that I don't see so much now anymore, Pete Price on Radio City. I love Pete Price. He's fabulous. And it'll be great to get back over there and to meet up with him, but also be on a show to promote my book. So I will be signing. Don't worry, I will be there. You will be sick and tired of me. I will be there. And the publisher will be over the moon that I'm going to do this, because it's very important to get out and meet people when you have a book. You can't just put it out because there's so many books. It could get hidden in all of them. So what I want to do is go everywhere. Every town, village that has a bookshop, I will be there. You can be sure I will do my best to get there.
So Mandy Wright from Leicester asks, what are you looking forward to next, Rory?
The next thing, I'm looking forward to finishing the book and working on that. But the more immediate thing that I'm really looking forward to is I have been contracted to appear in the Panto in the Olympia Theatre in Dublin again. And it's called, last year I did it, I filled in, an actor had to pull out at very short notice, and I filled in, and I had the time of my life. Now, because I had filled in, there was no expectations. It wasn't sort of the press were going to come and give me bad reviews, because they knew I was just filling in. So that was a lovely experience for me, and I had the best time. I was working with, if they're aware of Dustin the turkey, it's a puppet, but it's an outrageous puppet. It says the most outrageous things. Can't possibly stick to a script. You never know what he's going to say, but I was used to that from Mrs. Brown anyway. So I loved working with Dustin the turkey. Dustin is just brilliant. He's fabulous. He should be a huge star in the UK, and he probably will be soon. Another actor that was in it was a guy called Ryan Andrews, who's in a soap opera here in Ireland called Fair City, and he was a revelation to me. He's a kid, but he's a force of nature. He's a powerhouse. The energy that kid has. I say kid. Compared to me, he's about 24, 25, but he's brilliant. He's wonderful, and I loved working with him. So they asked me to do the Panto again this year. It's called Polly and the Magic Lamp, so it's going to be a version of Aladdin. And I'm in it, and I don't know what part I'm playing. That won't be decided until much later on in the year. But I'm so looking forward to that, because Panto, I've done two. I did one in the 2014-2015 series. I played Barbie, one of the ugly sisters, in Cinderella, and I loved it. But Panto is a huge amount of work condensed into a very short time. But I enjoyed it. And when you have to be fit to do it. Luckily I gave up smoking. I'm off cigarettes 2 years. So last year when I did it, I was dancing, I was singing, I was in wigs up to here, I was in high heels, I was in big costumes, but I had the time of my life. And this year, the Panto is in the Olympia Theatre, and it starts on the 21st of December and runs until the 6th of January. So there's 30 shows, and that's condensed into a very short time. But I'm going to have a ball. I'm going to really, really enjoy it. And then the other thing I'm looking forward to is I'm going on my holidays next month. I'm going back to Israel. I can't wait. Oh, love it.
And you'll be going to the VIP Style Awards, which you already won.
Ah,
a couple years ago.
That's another thing I'm really looking forward to. I've been to all the award shows. Because with Mrs.Browns Boys, we won a BAFTA, we won IFTAs, we won National Television Awards. We won People's Choice Award. We won everything, and we were at all the shows. I love the VIP Style Awards. I love it because it's everybody who's in show business in Ireland in some way or other, whether they be models or whether they be in entertainment or whatever it is, and they all get out and they let their hair down, and it's a great night. And it's a great way of catching up with people, because in the business we're in, if you're off on, say, Friday night and you're going out, somebody else could be gigging, so you don't see them. They could be, and so you very rarely meet up. But at the VIP Style Awards, we all meet up and we have a great time. And I won the Most Stylish Man in 2015 at the awards, so that was fabulous. I don't think I'd win it now, but you never know. I have to be nominated again.
James Branson from California, USA asks, my family and I are seriously considering moving to Dublin from the US. Do you think it's a smart move?
Yeah. If you're thinking of moving to Dublin, I love Ireland. I'm a huge fan of Ireland, especially since the same-sex marriage referendum a couple of years ago. Growing up, you always think the grass is always greener on the other side, and you'd have complaints. Oh, the government aren't doing this. Look at the state of the roads, or we should be paying less tax, or we should be getting this, and the health service could be better. But they're niggly things. Now they're quite serious. Some of them are serious, but they're just things that don't reflect on a country, so per se. But when I saw the same-sex referendum, and we were the first country in the world to vote on it. Like in the UK, they have same-sex marriage. In America, they have, and lots of other countries they have. But the government introduced those laws to change that you could, and quite right too. But they introduced them. Ireland has a constitution, so if you want to change something like that, the people have to vote. And they voted overwhelmingly in favour of same-sex marriage. And I just realised after that, I live in a fabulous country. Ireland is brilliant. It's a wonderful little country, because the people are wonderful, and the people are compassionate, and the people care about other people, and they are interested in everyone having equal rights. And I just loved it. And that, to me, was the wake-up call that I come from and I live in the best country in the world. And that's not from a nationalist point of view. I wouldn't be anyway sort of nationalist or anything like that. It comes from the fact that I genuinely think this country is a wonderful country. It's the people that make the country, and the Irish people are brilliant. They've a lovely way of life. They've a lovely way of thinking. They've a lovely way of going about getting things done and doing. It's a lovely, relaxed pace of life that we have here. So if you're thinking of coming from America, you won't get any arguments from me. I'm not going to say, well, think about what you're giving up. Come. Ireland is fabulous. You're going to love it. Ireland, and you will be welcomed. You will have a fabulous welcome here. So yeah, if you want to come. And that's the way it is. Ireland is great.
So Sue Humphreys from West Midlands, also known as the Black Country, asks, Have you ever considered doing a small venue tour, just talking about your life and experiences of the people you've worked with in the music business, like an audience with style show, as seen on TV, or even as a guest speaker on a cruise?
No. Very interesting question, Sue. Very interesting. Let me see. That's a brilliant question because
I couldn't see you stuck on a cruise though.
No, that's a brilliant question. I know I like cruising. No, I love the idea of that, like a featured speaker on a cruise or something like that, just talking. You see, I don't have an act. I don't have monologues, a series of monologues that I've written that I do, or like I don't have an act like that I could perform. I'm not a stand-up comedian. I don't have anything. So I don't have any of that to fall back on that I can do. But a guest speaker on a cruise, that sounds lovely. That sounds fabulous. Or question and answer thing in small theatres or theatres or something. That could be something I would be very, very interested in. So if there's anybody who does those type of things, who promotes shows like that, give me a shout and we can trash it out and see if it's something that's worth developing or worth doing. I would love I love that question. That's brilliant. It's something I've never thought of, but now that it's said, it's like, yeah, why not? That sounds like a good idea if it can work out. Now, a guest speaker on a cruise, that would be fine. I could do that. I just know myself, that would be fine. I could do that. But the Q&A thing, I don't know if I would be able to carry a show for 2 hours or an hour and a half or whatever it is. I don't know if people would find my life that interesting. They might do. I could try and be as entertaining as possible, but and granted, there's an awful lot to talk about because I was in one of the biggest shows in the world, and then before that, biggest shows on television, like Mrs.Browns Boys. I was in that, and I was also when I was in EMI, I met some fabulous people like Paul McCartney, David Bowie, Tina Turner, Diana Ross, Pet Shop Boys, Duran Duran, Kate Bush. There's loads of people, but I don't know if anyone. Well, maybe they would find it interesting. There's not an awful lot I can tell about those people. I met them, and it's just like polite things. You know the way it is when you meet people, and you go through the niceties, and then it's over. I met these people, but they didn't turn out to be my best friends, or I didn't turn out to be their best friend, and neither of us were looking for best friends. It was wonderful to meet them all, but they were work situations where I met them, and well,
you know a lot about the celebrities, but you don't like to give away anybody's secrets. That's very honourable.
No, you wouldn't do that. You really wouldn't do that. I remember years ago. Now this is just giving me an idea of something. I remember years ago I've seen Queen in concert hundreds of times. My first job ever in show business, when I think of it, was myself and a guy called Peter Brown. Now, not the Peter Brown in John and Yoko. Peter Brown, called to say you can make it okay. Not the Beatles Peter Brown, another Peter Brown who worked with Queen. And my first job when they came to Ireland was with him. I went to meet the band and I said, is there anything I can do? And Freddie Mercury says, well, dear, he says, there is if you could. And so I ended up, Freddie at the end of the show used to have these long stemmed roses that he used to throw out to the audience, and he was flinging them out. So myself and Peter Brown were sitting side stage. I had the best view. It was better than a front row seat. I was side stage looking at Queen, but my job was I was taking the thorns out of the roses so Freddie Mercury wouldn't cut his hands with the thorns when he was throwing them out. So there was that. Where was I coming with that one? Not giving away secrets.
Yeah.
Now when that's it. Now there was other things where I was on tour and there would be conferences, or you'd go and see Queen in various places over the world, and then because you were with EMI, you were going to the after show parties and all this type of stuff. Now when Freddie Mercury, leading up to when there was a lot of press interest in what was wrong with him. They knew he was ill, but it was never said what it was. And a journalist in Ireland rang me and asked did I have any stories about Freddie Mercury. And I thought, well, what stories could I have? I wasn't a close friend of his. And he said, oh no, but you were at parties and you were at situations that he was there, like, so you'd have seen behaviour and stuff like that. And I thought, what are you talking about? People should be allowed to let their hair down at parties anyway, and it's not a talking point in newspapers. But they offered me 20,000 £20,000 at the time to, this is about 1990, £20,000 to give them some story about Freddie Mercury. And I said no. Under no, what was I going to talk about? He got drunk at a party, or he did this at a party, or I saw him doing that at a party. I mean, it's ridiculous stuff. It's not in the public interest for something like that, but they wanted something to hang a story on. So I said no, and then
you took Elton John out when you were a young whippersnapper.
Yeah, but then poor Freddie Mercury died, and they rang me back and they said, Rory, we still have that offer of £20,000, and I just said to them, listen, the man is dead now, you can make up what you like, you don't need me to give you any stuff. And I wouldn't, and the reason I wouldn't do that was, you would never be trusted again. If you did that, you just would not be trusted. You would never get a job. You'd have to get a job in some other thing outside the entertainment industry, because nobody in the entertainment industry would trust you if you sold stories. And I would never sell a story. And when I read them, you read things like, oh, a friend says blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, Jesus, with friends like that, who needs enemies? If a friend is going to say that about you, what is an enemy going to say? And you always see that we're quoted, oh, friends or a close source. There's no such a thing, because no friend is going to sell out a friend. It's just not going to happen. I would never do it. I would never sell a story. That's the idea of that, that's just abhorrent to me, to the idea to do that.
Sometimes you'll get into an equal debate with another celebrity, an open debate.
I don't know, you can talk to people, and you can do things like that, but to sell a story to a paper, no. That's not good. That really
and talking about your love for debate and opinion, so we're at the section now for social media and getting your word out there. What have you been doing in the last month or two on social media?
Now, social media I just really enjoy it. I'm on that for the right reasons. And anybody who upsets me or insults me or accuses me of or whatever it is, I just block them or mute them. So I don't. So everybody that I see on social media are lovely people. My world is fabulous. And so my social media world is fabulous. I only see nice people. I only deal with nice people. I don't deal with negative people. I block them or mute them. So what I've been doing and I've got, I love little debates on social media. There was one I was involved recently in, and it was a nothing thing really in the great scheme of things, but I enjoyed it. It was somebody who said they had trying to make a point that public seating in the city centre, I mean, it's a nothing thing. Public seating in the city centre was taken away because the council said it was for antisocial behaviour reasons, and when really the reason was to steer people into coffee shops where they'd spend money. And I was saying, no, it's antisocial behaviour. That's what happened. That's why they don't have seats around the town. If you want to sit down, you can go into shopping centres and sit down where there's security on the gate, on the doors, to stop people engaging in antisocial behaviour, getting in to engage in it. And so we had a nice little debate there, so that was okay. And then there's also, I love putting up about what I'm doing and during the day if I think it's interesting. I love reading about other people's days. I like social media for the right reasons. I like it, and if you go into it for the right reasons, to read Twitter or Facebook or something like that, it can be great fun and it can be very good. And then there's also things that, like, I follow a lot of people like Alan Dershowitz and a lot of philosophers, modern day philosophers, and they post things that get you to think. So social media is fabulous. I just love it. I can't understand the people who go on it to criticise other people, to insult them, to give out about them. I just can't understand that. I mean, the whole thing now that's going on, I wouldn't be a Donald Trump supporter. Some of the things I like, some of the things I do, there's something about him I like, but in the overall scheme of things, I wouldn't have voted for him if I was living in America. But the way people are carrying on, and I just keep blocking people on social media, especially people like Barbara Streisand and Bette Midler, who I'm big fans of, but it's like every single day they're complaining about Donald Trump, and it's sort of, oh, come on, you're now becoming an energy vampires. Will you just stop? The man won the election. Move on with your life. Stop it. It's nonsense what you're doing now. Just stop it. But there's so many people that every day, and this thing's Donald Trump is a traitor, and I'm going, oh, another one to block, another one to mute, and I just keep muting all these people because it's so boring. This anger and this venting of anger is not going to change anything. The man was elected, so make the best of it and go on. There's lots of governments in Ireland that would be parties were elected into government in my life that I didn't like, but I wouldn't let it ruin my life. It wouldn't be my prime thing that I have to rant and rave about them every day. If I did that, I'd join the Sinn Féin party. That's all they do. They rant. Anyway, no. Forget I said that. I get into trouble. Right.
So, you've been getting out and about to different places. You were at the People of the Year Awards. You might want to tell them about that.
The People of the Year Awards, yeah, I was out there last week. I was invited to that, and it's a lovely award show to get invited to, because it's ordinary people who did extraordinary things, and they're being they get an award for it. It could be things like the first award was given out the other night was to two kids, two young children who had saved the life of their younger sister, and they just did it. They performed the CP. What is it? The thing they're able to bring. Whatever it's called. Anyway, I don't know how to do it, but I mean everyone should know how to do it. CPR. Everyone should know how to do it. I don't. But they did, and they were able to bring their sister back, and they saved her life and stuff like that. And they're only kids. And there are other people that might save the life of a parent who suffers from something, like who might have an episode or something like that, that if it's not treated well, and they ring ambulances and they do all that. And these kids are only 6 and 7. And they're fabulous. And I just love this idea. People who do good, like there was Peter McVerry, he won an award, and he looks after homeless people and stuff like that. So it's a great thing to go to because it's ordinary people. Celebrities aren't being awarded the thing. Sometimes they do, but there might be a Person of the Year award or an overall thing. But mostly it is ordinary people who do extraordinary things, and I love those shows. I loved that award show. It's great, and it's wonderful to see the people who do it.
And you were at a dinner with the Prime Minister, the Taoiseach, a spontaneous dinner as well.
Oh, no, that's a long.
And
that's
he was
a
also
while
at
ago.
the People of the Year Awards, giving an award.
Yeah, he was given an award. Ireland. I answered a question about Ireland a minute ago. This could not happen anywhere else. I remember years ago, my mother and I were at the Gaiety Theatre to see a play. And it was an opening night, and Michael D Higgins, who's the President of Ireland, he came in and he sat a couple of rows in front of us. And my mother was delighted that, there's Michael D Higgins, there's the President, wonderful. And at the interval we went into the bar, and Michael D Higgins was sitting at a table with his wife and a couple of security people around him, and my mother said, I'm going over to talk to him. And I said, I didn't want to sort of say, Ma, you're not going to get near him. He's the President, you will not get near him. So I just say, off you go. And I was looking to see how they were going. Like I thought, now if they start to handle her rough or something like that, or dismiss her roughly or something, I'd be over like a light. But they did. Michael D Higgins stood up, shook her hand, invited her to sit down beside him, and next thing I see him lifting up a box of chocolates, and he's offering me mother a sweet and stuff like that, and me mother's chatting away good out to him. And I thought, at the time Obama was the president in America, and I thought you would not get in an ass's roar of Obama just to walk up to him like that at a theatre. You would not be able to do it. You could not do that with the head of state in the UK. You would not get near the Queen. You couldn't just walk up to her. And if you saw her at a Royal Command performance, you couldn't just call in and say, hello, Your Majesty, and start. It just wouldn't happen. But in Ireland, things like that do. And when my mother came back, and it was when she was in the early stages of dementia, she said, I said hello to the President, and I said, so I noticed. I said, that was fabulous. I said, what did you talk about? And she says, I was telling him that our parish priest, Father Lane, he wasn't very well. And I thought, now, of all the things you could talk to the President about, this is what my mother spoke. But he was nice, he treated her well, and after that, if Michael D runs for a second term, I'll be voting for him because he was very nice to my mother, and he was a nice man. But I was out at this was the most bizarre thing. It could only happen in Ireland. I'd finished the Panto, and a friend of mine, Alan Hughes, who was in another Panto up the road, he said, right, we're finished as well, will we go for dinner in the Trocadero? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And I went down to meet them there, and our Taoiseach Prime Minister, our Irish Prime Minister, the Taoiseach, that's what we call him, the Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, he was there. He was part of the group. There was 6 of us, and Ireland's Prime Minister, Taoiseach, was part of that group. So we all sat down together, and I thought again to myself, how this wasn't a an invite from the Taoiseach's office saying he would like to meet you, he would like you to join him for dinner, like a command performance or a command appearance or something. There was none of that. He was just part of the group. That doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. And he was a lovely guy. We didn't talk. I actually didn't say that much to him because it was a night off. I didn't want to talk to him about politics. I didn't want to do anything like that. Basically all I said to him was, are you planning to spend Christmas in Ireland, or are you going abroad, or whatever it was? And he was a very nice guy. And I'm not really into politics, but I do like the fact that there's something about this Taoiseach Prime Minister we have in Ireland at the moment. Leo Varadkar is his name. He's a young man, and he's not tainted by any of the scandals, the political scandals that went on over the years. He's not tainted by any of the in Ireland there's things about whistleblowers and stuff like that. He's not, and he's at the stage in his life where he actually wants to change things. And and there's a couple of other people in government. Simon Harris, the minister, I've never met him, but he's the Minister for Health. And they're young people, and they want to do good things. So I just think they're fabulous. Politics, a lot of politicians, they've been around the block a lot, and they're jaded. But not this government. There's something about this government that I like. Having said that, I don't know anything about politics, but I do like them. But that's the type of thing that happens in Ireland. You can go out and you can end up sitting at a table having dinner with the Prime Minister, the Taoiseach, or my mother going to a theatre. She could end up sitting down and being treated very well and having a chat with the President of Ireland. Ireland is fabulous when you think about it, really.
Good. So would that be enough for you?
Oh no, yeah. The other thing that I went to and I really enjoyed was on Sunday night, just gone.
Can't stop me today.
Yeah, you can't stop me today. I went to a charity function for Wizo, Wizo, W-I-Z-O, Wizo.
It's a women's organisation.
It's an Israeli organisation. It's an organisation that helps people in need in Israel. And it's kind of like the Salvation Army. It doesn't care what religion you are, what ethnicity are, what groupings you're in, whether it's the majority or the minority group or whatever it is. If you need help in Israel, they'll help you. So it's like the Salvation Army. They don't care, and the Vincent de Paul in Ireland, they don't care what religion you are, what political persuasions you have. If all you just have to be is in need, and they'll help. So I did that, and it was a fabulous night. I loved it, and so that was great. That's what I've been up to lately.
Good. So from our Tea with Rory series, and we might have some more guests with us next time or the time in the future. Yes.
Now that's the thing. Sorry, he can't shut me up today. Yeah, there is a thing I'm doing with friends of mine that are, because Avri has all the equipment here, all the camera equipment and everything like that. So I've decided that a lot of friends of mine are in show business and stuff like that. So I'm going to be interviewing them and putting it up on my YouTube channel. So hopefully you'll find that in. But that's for the future. But I'm still going to be, if you still have questions, get them into Karen in the Rory Cowan official fan page, and I'll answer all them, because I love doing these. It's fabulous. I love doing this. Anyway, that's me finished. I'm not going to sing anymore.
So from us with our variety show here, goodbye.
Bye-bye. Toodle pips.